Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing a tutorial about arranging a Barely Alive style drop. It's the kind of drop that I did for my most recent remix of one of Blaze's songs. It is Fantasy by Blaze. I'll let you listen to it right here and you'll hear the drop. I have more of a Skrillex style one over here, but this is more of a Barely Alive right there. But I'll teach you how to basically just arrange it, and I'll probably put some other tutorials up on how to do some of the other sounds in the drop. Some of them I've already done tutorials on and whatnot, but here we go. There's that drop, and here's this Skrillex style one in case you want to hear it. So now you guys might be thinking, oh man, that doesn't sound like Skrillex, but you know, whatever, it's my own style, but I just figured this quicker, more fast-paced drop is more of a Barely Alive style, and that's basically what we're going to be going over today. So I am just going to basically just delete this whole layout here. I still have it saved, so don't worry about me losing any progress. So yeah, basically we're just going to attempt to fill in this section here with another completely different drop, hopefully. Obviously it's going to have some similarities because composition is basically the same for these synths because it's just how they all flowed together. So basically what you're going to need, obviously, is your drum beat, like this. And if you notice, actually, let me take out kick. If you notice, the hi-hats are fairly loud, and this basically just helps fill in a lot of blank space in the drop, because I know a lot of people struggle with filling in their drops. But yeah, you just want a nice hi-hat shuffle going on, a good punchy bassy kick, and a snare with some reverb on it. So we can have our drum beat, we can just lay it in there, obviously. And then what we need is a sub, and what I have here is just the sub that was in the original track. Is if you guys can hear that, it's just like a melody kind of thing going on, and I thought it worked really well with the drop anyways, so I just put that in there. The next thing we have, obviously, to fill in more space because drops tend to be very empty, have a little hit here and an ARP. I'll let you hear what that sounds like. So basically that just fills in extra space. You know, there's a little bit of reverb on that hit. Actually, you could probably do with a little bit less. But so basically we're just trying to, before we even start putting in our drop, we're just going to fill up enough space tell, it just sounds like a fairly beefy drop already. All we need obviously left is to add in our sounds. And then another thing I like to do, which is a little something Virtual Riot had in one of his tutorials, is a tonal noise, I guess. Basically what I did is I just turn up the white noise amp and then put the master right there, and then pitched up the square saw 1 oscillator 1 up 1 octave, and it worked pretty good, and I lowered the amp on it so it wasn't as loud as the noise. So yeah, we add that in there, and this is what it sounds like without the drop synths. Alright, so now for the drop stuff, basically, let me just find my patterns here. Basically for my drops, I just have a bunch of random sounds in a pattern. As you can see, there's a bunch of random stuff, and this one did not play because it needs an automation clip, but we can worry about that later. And then I have another pattern somewhere. Oh yeah, I have this one. Basically just played a bunch of notes in the key so I could chop it up later, which is basically how I arrange all the drops, all my drops at least. And then this one is basically just the lasers, and then this punch. Just again a bunch of random stuff, and then I don't think I have much else. But basically how we want to start off our drop is we want to start off with some kind of downwards pitch growl is usually how I do it. We could use that, but I don't like that. So basically what I did was I used this one right here, and I just chopped it down real small. Like that. We're just going to solo these drop synths for now. And then I had another, this growl swag, why I have it named that, I don't know. But there we go, we have that. And let me make an automation for this. Go straight to our growl swag. Mess around with our wub nub. Then we're gonna just do that. Obviously, it's pretty obvious. Anyone can make an automation. Actually, we're gonna have it the other way. Okay, so there's that. So basically, what you want to do for these Barely Alive style drops, I guess, or basically just any drop in general, you just want to fill this first little bar with something that's basically going to repeat every, so often, and then you're going to want to fill the rest of this with some kind of funky sound or something different, basically. But if I can show you these Barely Alive drops here. Most of them are just a bunch of complex arrangements. I guess they changed their picture, and that's brutal. Alright, so if we go down, some of my favorites are down here. Where are you? Okay, I guess Keyboard Killer.
Screaming barely alive.
Keyboard Killer.
So that's basically how they did that one. It's just like a little bit of line of some kind of growl synth and then some funky, whatever's what we want to go on in there. And in my case, in this song, I use the punchy hit thing. which I've been using a lot because I'm in love with it. So that. And then basically at the end of our first measure, I guess, if this is, yeah, one measure, I think, or at least just one large bar. But at the end of this, we want to add a little bit of a variation, not including this exact structure. We want something different. We want something that we haven't used, preferably, and that is, in my case, a laser. So basically what you want, again, is just to fill it in the first quarter measure. If this is the, I'm assuming this is quarter measure. Yeah. But you want to fill in the first quarter measure with some kind of downward synth or just something funky, and then you want something completely unique in the second and third quarter measure. And like I said, I use the dun hit synth, and then you want something completely unique that we haven't used yet. So that's how that part is going to go. And then basically what we can do is just copy paste this first little section here. Oh, where did I go? And then we can put in our dun thing. And then we can maybe add some lasers in here to spice it up because it's the second measure. Yeah, I like that. And then we can add the changed version of the laser. And then maybe copy paste this yet again, whole thing. And then we can go on straight to our second drop. I like to copy paste my first segment. I guess I just call it the first drop because it's the first section of drop that is as long as the first pattern of drum beat. But then in the second pattern, we want to change it up. And also in this pattern, we can get rid of these. Is it those ones? Yes. And then we are going to add our melody. Basically, sort of break. I'll show you what that sounds like when we get to it. Did I take out the? Okay. So yeah. Basically, then what we want to do, just you can delete all your filling, I guess, when this melody comes in, because there's no need for it. We already have a ton going on in there. But yeah. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do, like I said, for this one is just change it up a tad. And then we are going to take this, copy it, and move it over here, and then add slight variation, if any. Because obviously you want to add variation so that the drop doesn't get boring, the listeners don't get tired, but you also want to keep it fairly consistent throughout so that their ears aren't wandering off listening to each and every individual sound. You want them to be focused on everything at once. You want them, you basically just, you want to keep everything, gosh, why is it so dang hard to explain? You just got to keep everything to this original structure, I guess. My goodness, I'm just bad at tutorials, people. But anyways, so basically we're just going to change this up a little bit, and what I did for that, as you heard in one of the other parts, was this little chip laser thing. Laser chips. Yeah. Oh, it's an awfully long pattern there. Okay, then shorten that down let's go in here and see. So we can maybe do half of this and put it on our little chip things. As you can see, that's a nice little change there. Actually, what we're going to do here is we're going to chop that and basically you can just freestyle however you want to change up this second drop. I mean, it's all up to you, and as you can see, I just went a little crazy there with some slicing and chiplets and chip lasers or whatever. But yep, so that's basically the first drop, I guess. And we're gonna copy our little laser chip thing over here. Actually, this is turned out a lot better than I expected. I might have to actually go up, delete my remix real quick, and then render this up and put it up there before he sees it, because it's turning out pretty good. But anyways, so that is the first section, and basically what we're going to do is just copy paste it, because like I said, you want to keep it on the same structure and whatnot of how it was originally. And then basically you want to go into another type of break after your second little melodic break here. As you can see, I just added the melody again with these vocals. And basically now I can show you this right here. Basically just obviously you leave your drums and your bass. You're going to have, what I did was the chords, an ARP, or not an ARP, a pad. This is basically everything I just used for the melody. And as you know, this is the end of a certain drop pattern, because this is all a pattern, I guess, if you want to think of it like that. So basically what I like to do is just go into a melody and pick out the end of the melody. Like, I don't know, this isn't the same melody, but you just pick that out, and it gives it the feeling that that pattern is just ended, even though you hadn't had a melody or anything before it, because you had already heard the melody before, and your ears, well, your brain remembers that that little melodic part is the end or whatnot. I guess you could say it like that. But anyways, that's what I did. I left the vocals in here. I put in some automation clips, kind of swoosh it in, the pad volume raised, the chord volume raised a tad, and then dropped back down because it was quite loud when I didn't do that. And it was quite loud in here. So basically, for the second complete drop, if you're going to be copying it over like I did, then you basically just want to change something up a little bit, but you don't have to. You can leave it exactly the same if you want, and it'll sound perfectly fine. Everything will be all good, but I think I'm just going to leave this piece here because I like this too. So if you really think about it, arranging drops isn't too terribly hard. You just gotta go about it in an organized way, and honestly the best way is to just, like I said, put all your synths into one random mess, into one random pattern. Just take it in here and just start chopping it up to a billion little pieces, and you just moving it around till you hear stuff sounds good. Because honestly, you get so lazy having to keep going back to piano roll, and keep clicking on the piano roll and stuff that you don't want to have to rearrange it, and you just settle for less. You don't want to settle for less. But yeah, so that's my tutorial, my 2 cents on arranging that drop. I have another tutorial up on how to do these synths. It'll be like exactly in the same project. So yeah, guys, if you want to see that, just subscribe, like, and look for my next video coming up.